Here's the finished piece.
Launch this puppy and get it up and running. Welcome tonight back to the Honey Network get-together. We're launching everything so the YouTube guys can catch up with us, and we're a little bit slow tonight, so I apologize. Computer network difficulties. Let's just put it, I got to blame it on these shoulders because I have been out of it for a little while. My name's Lou Jensen. This is the weekly gathering of the INE Network, and all these people are members down here in the viewing in the green room, the film strip, and this is the beginning of the series that I started with upscale marketing. Now we're going to start with pricing, then we go to branding. And of all the three that changed the economy, the economics of doing artwork, these are the three. I'm beginning to mix with the International Egg Art Group over on Facebook quite a bit, and it just is amazing the kind of work that's being done out there, but most of them are not selling their work even still. And so I'm hopeful that we can influence that. Trying to get from the point where it's not selling well to where it's selling enough, and then where it's selling for exceptional. That's the goal. So I don't know how many times you've sat and listened and gone through this series with me, but as I went through and double-checked the slide series, every time I learned some little new thing, some little thought that I hadn't had before that then influences my thinking. And I'm hopeful that that's what will happen tonight, that you'll pick up something out of this whole routine that you didn't see before, and will give you a chance to really kind of open up some new doors. So let me see if I can get this up and running. Had to close everything down and restart it, so I'm hopeful that this is the right PowerPoint. Welcome everybody tonight. I'm sorry I'm a little bit late. Appreciate you taking the time and coming through. Try to make a note or two. Look at something that might be more what you're
after. In.
Not yet. Not that one. Oh, these are all old ones. Let me go get this and open it up here to see if I can. Stage 6 show.
I got you on.
You're here, Tony.
I don't know how I found it, but I finally got on.
All right, dear. You're further ahead than me right now. So is your puppy. Well, it was here, but now it doesn't want to have it. Yeah, that's still in there. Oh, this is not good. It was there. Oh, I know where I put it. I think I put it on my desktop. Let's go see here quick and see if it's there. Still.
It's in the cupboard on the left-hand side, Lou.
Yeah. On my desktop, it's a little bit not good. Pricing
right below
show
the whiskey glass. Right below your whiskey glass.
Yeah. It's about margarita time, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's all the time.
That is any time after 5, and it's 5 somewhere. Oh, no, guys, I think I killed it. I think I killed it when I reset it to bring up my camera.
Well, you can always do an impromptu show.
Yeah, I could, except I can't think right now. Branding. Where in the world is it? Okay, you guys visit for just a second. Let me go see if I can't pick it off my laptop, because that's where I had it.
He could tell us about his class last week, or the week before that was.
Joni, I'm glad you were able to get on.
Johnny follows the breadcrumbs that Ron drops.
Yeah, I finally managed to get it. I tried everything I know how, and it just accidentally got.
Did it come up there on the Google Plus page like I was telling you about?
Yep.
It didn't.
Yeah. I don't know. It's I've been having trouble with this computer for quite some time.
I want to
have
hear
it.
about Debbie Corman with all that work that she's putting out there.
Who?
What about?
All that work that you're putting out there, that you're posting pictures of. Tell us about it. Where's it all going?
Where's it all going?
Yep.
Let's see. The last couple pieces. Well, you saw the piston. That was a pretty neat project. I enjoyed doing that. Actually, it's going to be part of a. The man took different parts of a Volkswagen and he welded them together, and then he was going to put this piston on the top, and they're giving it as a worst of the show award. But I told him, I said, "Man, you're going to take your own car so you can win it," because he really got excited when he saw it. So that happens this weekend. So well, I asked him to take some pictures of the person that he gives it to, so I could put it in my picture file. So
Yeah. Good.
yeah, so, and a couple of the other things, well, I can't remember what else. One was a lamp that went to Virginia for a service award, and that was that lady's house. It was her portrait. Somebody just drove by and took a picture of it. So I get all kinds of little things that I'm doing.
Now, have you posted that? Debbie?
The lamp. Yeah, the lamp I did. Yeah, I posted the lamp, and I posted the piston. Maybe I didn't do the lamp on Google Plus. I may not have done the lamp on Google Plus. I did the piston, but not the.
Yeah, because I saw the piston, but I didn't see the lamp.
Yeah.
You might have posted that on Facebook or something.
Yeah, I did that on Facebook. And I have a cheese box that I'm taking a picture of today. That's going for a donation for a young child that's they're raising money for cancer. So I'll be posting that soon. So I've been busy, trying to stay out of trouble.
I know Mel was holding up. Mel, why don't you hold up your goblet again with the double rings that you did for that wedding, or you're going to do for the wedding?
Yeah, this is it. And the dates are
Oh yeah.
down in here.
That's very nice. How do you get the rings on? How do you go about putting the rings on the stem? You have to split them and put them back on, or?
He welds them together.
Yeah.
with a cherry welding rod.
That's good.
I made the mistake of asking that same question there, Dean, so I'll tell you what he did.
Now there's a special tool that you use. It's got a notch cut out of the end of it that you actually just hook in and around the back side and carve out the rings while it's turning.
I got you. Okay. Pretty clever.
Yeah.
It's always the right tool, right?
That's right.
Hey, looks like we got something coming up here.
Got the right tool. What I've got is the old show that I had re-edited it, but then I killed the edit when I tried to close it. So I'll go through with what I've got because it's the substance of the idea of perception. And I think this will help you each of you to get a better handle on this. We were in a meeting today with the university, and they've asked Chris and I to help them with the fundraising project, which is now on the same basis as the one I did for BYU a few years ago. And when I started talking to them about the perception of the trade and the idea that 20% of their database contributed 80% of their money, I know those were new thoughts. Those were new concepts. They were selling ideas that I've used for years that these two ladies are not really aware of yet. So it's the change of our thinking that changes our lives. If we can't see that concept, then it's not likely to do us any good or be an advantage. And on pricing of anything, my good grief, if you're trading something and you say, I want $10,000 for it, and someone says, well, I'll only give you $4 for it, $4,000, then what do you do? At that moment, you have a decision to make. Is it only worth $4,000 really, or is it really worth $8, or is it now worth still $10? Or, I mean, that trading process is such a subjective moment for most of us. We really struggle with it. And when we've been a consummate consumer, it's very difficult to get your head over on the side of the producer. All that we might become begins with our next great new idea. Our thinking usually leads to actions, hopefully, and in all reality, we're constantly in the process of making our own future. So thus we see thoughts are things, and oh, they are such precious things. So what should I do with me? How am I going to proceed? And am I going after the marketplace alone, or am I going after it with those of us that have the same kind of persuasion? The Handmade Crusade to me is still, I got my chance to throw this on the table again today. The coming invasion of all robotic and computerized smart machines is going to really, really press the handmade world. So as we wade into, I love this particular slide. I remember shooting this day. I set up my glass chess set, and then I had the video camera coming in close to kind of talk about how you play the game. And if you never play this game much and get on the trading, producing side of the table much, you're going to really struggle with it. It's part of what I see going on in our government managing and our political machinery right now, is that we got a bunch of attorneys that never made a decision. They don't know how to run a business if their life depended on it, except they got the biggest checkbook in the world. And we need some business managing in there. And so if you know what you're doing with pricing and know how branding works and know how upscale marketing works, you got a chance. But if you don't know anything, you really can run into trouble. It's this producing side of the equation rather than the consuming side. In this meeting, we also got in a discussion about things, what things are worth. And it was so challenging for me because these two women are managing this school, universities. They're paying them to be development directors, except they're still consumers. Their whole thinking strata is consuming. So coming up with what will help you begin to learn how to move your life in the direction that would improve this possibility. I hope that what we go through here again tonight with these series of slides will help jog you in a little bit different direction, okay? I want you to check your thinking at the door. No more consuming here. It's just tell yourself, I've got to learn a whole new way of thinking. If you've been going into a gas station all these years buying gas and you drive out of that place thinking you know what it's like to run a gas station and make a profit, you're wrong. You can't possibly be a consumer and have it figured out. Unless you're the producer doing the trading from that side of the equation, you don't really understand what's even going on. And if you don't know what you don't know, then it doesn't exist. And that's where this opinion thing, our country has moved into the value of an opinion is over experience. It's just silly. How can someone who's on the street, never cracked a brain, done any surgery like Herman has done for all his life, been a neurosurgeon, his opinion you got to value and give a great deal of credit to. The average person, taxi cab driver, is not going to know what Herman knows. And when it's you trading something with this consumer over here, you've got to try and manage this trading table. And everything that is affecting that is the demand, the availability, the quality, the presentation, and the location. These are what the free market does to then affect the price. And any one of them can influence it dramatically. If you look at this picture and you don't realize what you're looking at, and what makes a really good business is all four of these categories, not just these two. All small businesses, they find somebody and sell them something, then they find somebody else and sell them something again. This is not a business, because all this does is consume every dime that you've got. What you got to have is this ongoing business relationship. This had better grow into this, and this should influence that. And right here is a really decent business. All small businesses need to control their time, travel and play, have some income, and then direct the aim of the business. This is the hats that you should be wearing. These are the things that you're responsible for. So if it's not giving you any more time in your life, then you ought to really rethink everything. If it'll allow you to travel and play, more power to you. If it produces some income, that's wonderful. That's what a business ought to do. But guess who has to aim the business and direct their traffic and find the individual customers? I love presenting this silly slide, and I do it every time. June was here a couple of weeks ago for her studio startup course, and I hope she's listening in. I don't know if she could manage to hang on yet tonight, June, but we talked about this position for a business model. Is it okay to do 3,000 things for $1 a piece, or would you rather do one thing for $3,000? Now I'm going to try and swing your thinking from here, volume and things that people need, over to here of things that people want and single edition custom kind of stuff. It's just a whole different way to go at it. And this is a business plan. This is a way to kind of target your efforts and look at everything you're doing and see if it's fitting into the business plan. Entire purpose of this plan, okay, keep the capital or the captain, the pilot for the business adventure focused and on track and paying attention and measuring and correcting from point A to point B. If you're going to sail from here to here, you got to double check things all along the way to see that you end up over here. No one takes off in a plane and just flies from New York to Hawaii and just goes there. The pilot, the navigator, everybody is involved, constantly double checking and measuring and making sure that, yeah, we're right on target where we want to go. But most don't run their business that way at all. When it gets written down, sketched out, you have a chance of staying with an idea longer and maybe even bringing it into reality. Now, when Uncle Walt lived this way, there's just no, you can't look at his life and his productivity and not realize this is how he thought. And when it's something that you can believe and you're figuring out and you're finding your way, then you can make this decision. I'm going to pay for it. I'm going to do whatever it takes to find opportunity and then move myself in that direction. When Chris and I left the school the day we were we were talking about all the problems in front of the project, and I says, that just feels like a lot of opportunity to me. And Chris says, yeah, but he says it's hidden behind all the work clothes. So he actually is listening once in a while. Who are you after, and where in the world can you find the kind of fish that you're after? What fishing method here? One fish or 1,000 fish? And the great joys in life when you can surprise other people around you, but an even greater sense of satisfaction when we can surprise those who know us well. But above any other sense of satisfaction I've ever known has come when I've been able to surprise myself. For most of us, we don't even know enough to ask the right questions. Brian Beatty, from my experience, problems so far, Darwin Dower, the path up Success Mountain has some rough spots. There's no problem that some more snow won't solve for us. How in the world did I get myself into this jam again? Every day, every hour, everything is for trade. Even when you don't think you're trading, you really are. And that trade has to be balanced. That's what free trade economy is all about. If it's distorted and slanted too much, it will level itself. It flat will. Because the customer has to sense that everything's okay, and it's our job as a producer to put that into place. And so everything that's traded on a better basis is wrapped around this idea of the perception of value. And we as the producer are the ones that control that. And it's not anything that the consumer understands. We think we do, but it's all perception. So if it's not got anything to do with reality, I've picked on Michelle for quite a long time. She's up in Washington State, and she started doing gourds and did her artwork and sent me some pictures right after her first show. And she'd done her first show trying to sell her work, and her work's decent. It really is. But how in the world would you price it? Where she was just befuddled. She just did not know. The price reacted in the marketplace. Look, it was too high. She'd put them for several $100s, $200 or $300, and nothing sold, and it didn't do well. So what she was asking, well, what would you do? How should I price that? And I'm going, well, it's not just that simple of a concept, because you can't just put a price tag on there and then have it go and have it work. It was her first show. Think in your head, well, she's probably a little soft at her salesmanship. Wouldn't you guess? If she's not done it before, she didn't really know what she was doing about presenting with a perception of value. And almost everyone in that case tends to downgrade the perception of value of the work, especially if somebody notes a mistake or a little error or whatever. And on the one hand, you've got her, and then on the other hand, you got Danny Wainscott. And it thrills me to brag about Danny all the time, because his work just gets better and his prices go up, and he's done exactly what I preach. He has just followed it right down the line and has moved his name and reputation clear off the chart, okay? And when you hear someone, I own a piece of Danny Wainscott's work, it's not overly, the quality's there, there's no question, the presentation's there, but it's a Danny Wainscott thing. He has by far the best name in this little business. So, pretty tough to drive the prices up, and any idiot can take the prices down. And playing in this trading game of things that people want, why would you put up with going down in price instead of trying to get it up further and further, okay? Because that's where he's headed. He's working now on a $30,000 piece. And when you can sense your career is moving in this direction, what happens to all of Denny's work and pieces and the value of it the day he passes away? Goes clear through the roof. You couldn't hand your family a better estate, okay? So, if you're looking at the job of the consumer's job is to try and get the price as cheap as they can. The primary job of the producer is to try and get the price as high as they can. So this is a war. This is a trading war that goes on every day all over the world, okay? Denny says he started working with gourds because as a child he and his grandfather made gourds in the birdhouses, and work brought back fond memories. After a year of painting gourds, Denny discovered this high-speed carving tool opened up a whole new medium for him. His mission now is to show people that art can come from many different mediums. He wants to educate and share his knowledge and beauty that he sees in gourds. The process is started by planting the seed, harvesting, drying, seeing the design in each gourd. You think he's passionate. He just swims in every detail. And when you have that kind of passion for what you're doing, it begins to really change your thinking, and then thus your individual results. ROI is a very old business kind of concept, because ROI is I put some money in and then I made this much money over here. How much came back off of the investment that you made? And ROI just really messes with most people's heads. Consumers don't even think about it. But as a producer, you really have to pay attention to it, okay? Number one point I want to make tonight is don't do it alone. Okay? It's pretty interesting. I had quite a few of the masters show up during the week that June was here, and we got to visit with her and with them. And it was so fun to listen to their comments of the connection that they all have with each other and with other like-minded business players. So you don't have to do this all alone. And it helps you give courage when you're trying to move into a position where you can raise your prices. Just stop really quick right now. When's the last time you raised the price on your favorite thing that you do or produce? Did you raise it last year? Did you raise it 2 or 3 times this year? Are you constantly looking for an excuse? Every time I would get major publicity, my prices went up. Okay, so in the trade, being in the trade and learning what this equation is all about, and beginning to understand all of these different factors that really do affect the awful truth of whether there's money coming in the door and reasonable for the trade, or if you're losing ground. There's a pattern. This is the whole idea here. If you see the pattern, you've got a good sense of what they'll do and how they work for you. They serve you, and you can literally move these hows, whys, wheres, and whens into improving your own productivity. Most of you get this. When I'm talking in this position and we're trying to sell in the economy in this circumstance, you're really, really up against the wall. Because even if this was extremely nice stuff, this is mostly something that people kind of more need. But the economic circumstance is not going to allow you to trade for the highest mechanism. But right here, everything changes. Look how far it is from this position of marketing to this position of marketing. Now, it does take some time and energy to get it to here, but this is where you want to be. And so you mentally look in that direction, saying, yeah, I think the trade is here is about as eccentric as it can get. It just feels expensive when you walk in the door. So instead of criticizing what you see there, what you should be doing is stretching your own thinking and see if there isn't some way you can climb up into this greater place. Just beyond the therapy of a great hobby lies a mountain of success where you can pay the bills and produce with the artwork you produce, and then play with it more. Why not figure out how to do well so that you got a checkbook that you can go do things with? You can reach a lot further in this world if you can pay for it, okay? And I'm sorry to inform you once again that the mountain of success is up here, and it isn't an easy climb, but it is really worthwhile climb. When I brag about Ken, I don't know how to put it in terms. I've watched him for over 20 years now, maybe 22 years, just bang it out of the park constantly. And I watch more on Facebook now and paying more attention over there, and Ken is just, he's there often. But you'll never see him on the bottom end of the production. He's always aiming for a few pieces that are really worthwhile rather than doing thousands. Mike was asked to do a casket, carved casket for $1 million bottle of wine. That bottle was $1 million. And the owner of Hormel Meat Company bought it, and the designer in Scottsdale asked him to carve this box for him. And then he's done some others for these really expensive upgrade bottles of wine. When Brian, I want you to plug Brian Beatty's studio in your Google search and just go see what's there. Pull up his images and just realize he's in Bulgaria again right now. And man, if you get playing with what you know how to do. I told him, I said, Brian, if you don't do a video teaching something kind of course to teach people, how in the world do you pay for your trips to Europe? I don't know a single egg artist out there that's playing more in the marketplace than Brian Beatty. And when he first started, remember how they teased him to begin with, like he didn't know how to do anything? He's just don't tell Brian Beatty you can't do something. You're likely to get to eat your words. And he just is recognized as best of state in Utah again for his sculpting. And to take something that's considered a craft and push it on over into an art and doing well with it, to me, is just a thrill. But it's you that makes this difference. Somewhere inside of you to realize that you are this difference, this extraordinary expression of your way of doing things. How fun is it to be able to push your skills a little, come up with doing something a little better, and then sell it? There's just nothing more invigorating to me than that same kind of thought and that same kind of process. Jack has on his desk this huge, beautiful, solid gold clock, and I always have to go in and see how much the price of gold is, and then measure it out. It's 22 pounds, so it's real easy for us to kind of talk about the perception value. So he's got anywhere from $250,000 to $500,000 worth of gold sitting on his desktop, just sitting there, and it's the core of the potential of a $40 million collection that is going to end up somewhere. And it's kind of my job. I'm the curator of the collection now, and I got to keep it together. I got to try and, that's where I went last week to try and see if I can't maneuver this even more. And I've put 35 years into this effort. And maybe it'll work out the way I want, and maybe it won't, but I'm sure going to give it everything I've got to try and make it work out. And if you forget constantly this number from upscale marketing should affect every decision you make. Because if you're doing your work and trying to trade with the bottom half of the economy, all you're going to do is struggle. If you're not thinking of targeted marketing, then why just stay with the hobby? Just do it for the hell of it. If you look at this little series of slides now and you don't sense what's going on, $95 million for this Picasso, $100 million for this Picasso. Oh, this is Warhol's. I'm sorry, I got the wrong name on there. $100 million for Warhol's picture, $104 million for another Picasso. This silly thing was $104 million, and I just go, yeah, this is quality, this is whatever, this is anything. And you have to just be baffled by the reality of what's going on here. This is the one that what's his name in I think this is the one that what's his name bought in Vegas and put his elbow through it. Remember? He damaged it. The Mensch piece, the Scream, $120 million. And then this was the one that made the movie out of The Woman in Gold, $135 million. $140 million for Jackson Pollock. And a Cézanne, $250 million. From here to here. Oh, this is the one. Steve Wynn bought this one. This is the one that he put his elbow through it and punched a hole in it. It's probably a good thing it was him and not somebody else. This should just wrinkle your brain to know that there's somebody out there in the world that can afford $100 million for a piece of art, and they're willing to buy it. When you get through all of everything that's traded and sold in the economy, art is still the #1 product, and it always will be. It's how we express life and living. It's how we measure being a human. It's the most collectible thing on the face of the earth. Even carved eggshells are the most delicate artwork in the world. Okay? But from that kind of artwork that's sold, look at what Robert does. And most would not sense that there's this kind of potential here at all, except he just keeps right on doing it. $265,000 for a model boat. He makes model copies of the most expensive yachts in the world. And his prices are just crazy. Crazy good. Okay? We talk incessantly about exposure, exposure, exposure. And to be Kathy and get on opulence is upscale marketing at its best. How you just this girl here is as successful as any woman on earth, and she knows this formula, this pattern. She knows it extremely well. And when you watch Eddie's efforts to go from a 65,000 model to 127 to 175 to 200, now to 360, I mean, you have to just see he's doing it right. He's doing exactly what he should. So he's gone a long ways from 250 or 500 a model to what he's doing now. But it's not just these people. It's I've got person after person after person I can point to that has just excelled at what they do. Both quality but also the marketing. And everyone thinks, well, no, Buster's just the best damn knife maker on earth. And I'm going, no, he's not. He knows how to grow his individual name and reputation. Now, in the knife world, you can do it competitively. They have all these juried contests. And so if you go that route, you have to have pretty thick skin, but it really, really is productive. I got to hold this knife. I was watching him work on it when I went down to see his studio just before he passed away. And that pattern right there is famous, famous, famous Warinsky look. Now Julie does all the artwork. He does the knife making and the handle and construction. But Julie does all the individual artwork. Now this is his first major commission piece, was the King Tut dagger. This is an exact replica of the King Tut knife. But it was made centuries and centuries ago. And then Buster and Julie actually copied it and redid it. There's some pretty skilled knife makers and designers in that era, would not you say? Look at this, raised relief. Just absolutely stunning stuff. The Gem of the Orient was his other knife. It was the first $1 million handmade knife made by Buster. The guy that sold 1 million bottles of sake a day bought it. Gem of the Orient. Now listen to this. Making the knife took 5 years, contained 32 ounces of gold, blade cast from gold and specially heat treated. The knife was a standalone project. Became his first of his legacy knives. He followed this knife with a knife called the Gem of the Orient. Incorporated 153 emeralds, 10 carats, and 9 diamonds with a total of 5 carats. These gems were accent the gold filigree, which overlaid the jade handle. Took Buster 10 years to make this knife, and it sold for $2.1 million. Third knife in the series was called Fire and Ice, and it never sold. Quartz, the fourth knife, was planned but wasn't ever done. So the day Buster passed away, what happened to the value of these handmade things? And they're just not going to go down in value now. Not ever. Up and up and up. And I sit and think, well, why wouldn't you study more what Buster did and what Julie did and look in the direction of that pattern? Is it something that you can do or that you cannot do? Could you take this piece, this example of graphics, and learn to cut this in metal or steel on a blade and try and replicate that better and better and better so you get just absolutely stunning at it? When you look at this company in Switzerland and they make this Atmos clock as a secret formula of how the atmosphere affects the functioning of this clock, so it never needs to be wound. And it's the last one sold for $3 million. So from there are people out there that will pay for an ink pen. Who does this? Who buys ink pens anymore? And this one's only $33,000, and this one's only $36,000. But there were only 33 sets in the whole world. That makes sense. And this one's $57,000. But it has a double reservoir. This one's really, you know, it's got something else. And this one's only $66, but it's a samurai pen and lighter. You know, it's got both, so that's probably worth it. Oh my gosh! Then they went to $174,000 for a 1010, and then they went to $175,000. This, well, it's a limited edition with Winston Churchill. That should justify that kind of price range. And then Prince Rainier, it's only $80. They sold this entire edition, $256,000 and $10. And then we start getting into $406,000 for this one, and $730,000 for this little baby. Of course, it's a Mont Blanc. Yeah, that's proud makers. Gold pen by Anita Tan. The Tessarite stone was estimated to be 2 billion years old. But then there's $1 million pen. And then $1.4 million. I hope by now, this one was sold at an auction. They were raising money, and it sold in China for $8 million. Now you have to just talk to yourself and say, well, it's just clear unimaginable. You just can't even think in terms of someone spending that much for a pen, or that much for a knife, or that much for a piece of engraved crystal. You just have to realize what in the hell happens here to push it in this direction. It is a perception of the moment, not really the reality, okay? 123 rubies and all this stuff, that's just detail. That is not, okay, not why it sells. Sold during a charity auction in Shanghai for a staggering $8 million. This single copy produced is based on divine proportion. I mean, all this is just silly. So from Michelle's work that she couldn't sell it, almost giving it away, to what happens to change that, okay? If you start here, okay, this is only only place you can begin to try and get a basis, because most of you are headed into your summer shows and festivals. And so what you do is take all of your costs, include of all anything related costs, then add in how many hours and what is your hourly rate. So just look here with me mentally and say, where is your hourly production rate right now? How much an hour do you probably try to charge for your work? Now, if you're 60 bucks an hour, I'll be fine with that. If you're anything less than that, you're cheating yourself. You really can't make a business fly in anything less here. And this $1 a minute rate for us that do custom personalization, this is where it ought to be most of the time. But guess who gets to be in charge if you're going to move it up? I know damn well that Ken Brown thinks in a much higher hourly rate than that. So if you take that number up here and then double that cost to come up with some profit, and then you really, this is the only place to begin that you have. But that's just a start out number. And if you're slower, then how do you price something? You start shaving the hourly rate if you take more time to do it. When I met Naredi the first time, I sold his first 4 pieces in Park City for 10 grand, and he'd been giving them away in Armenia. And so I got one of these rose boxes for a jewelry box for Tam, and it's $16,000 now. He's finally figured out how this works and moved in a direction where individual artistic pieces are extremely expensive. And he makes them individually by hand. And all he's done is grow his name ever since he came to the United States. But so has Ben. Ben didn't swallow the turning route. He's not a turner. He's an artist. And he's moved now to his individual pieces that are carved first in wood and then copied in glass. And I don't know if you can even afford a piece of Ben's work anymore. He just took it to absolute height that's it's just astounding. Look at this presentation piece. This is massive. But what a great way to sell a couple of pieces of work. And the more expensive this piece is, the better the collectors like it. Now, I would bet that there's not a one of you watching this show tonight that has access to a power pen that couldn't carve this and this. You see this, what he's doing here with this technology, with this tool. He does things that stay within the range of what the equipment will do. And this piercing effect that he's done so incredibly well with the Oriental flavor. I just am so proud of him. So wherever you are, the whole idea is to grow your circumstance, to grow your name and reputation in such a way that you finally really get paid well to do it, okay? I think you all saw Craig's new doors on the Facebook this week. These doors for a real exotic restaurant in Park City. And I stopped by to see him this week and told him, I says, you just needed to do one more thing. You should have done a videotape of the whole project. Because when you can multiply individual efforts, then this grows. Then it gets better and better and better. So, can you come back now and focus on what's the primary word? The primary word that literally defines the entire worldwide economy. It's not based on 153 rubies or 8,900 hours or 2 years or 5 years or 10 years. We talk about that stuff, but that's not how you get this kind of money. It's purely on how you present the perception. And it's all based on uniqueness. If it's ordinary, very tough to make it work. If it's extraordinary, then it works really, really well. Now, I go through the trade winds all year, every year. What I'm trying to do is bend your thinking in the direction of it will work rather than, oh, hell, I can't make that work. learning how to trade better. Somehow look at what you're doing here instead of the buying of it, and is that reasonable, to the making of it, and is that reasonable? What should be the price of an egg? What should be the price of a Corvette? What should be the price of a haircut? Price of groceries, price of property. If you're on this side of the consumer, you have a perspective of this, and if you're on the side of the producer, you have a whole nother appreciation for it. And when you move from a Honda Civic to a Corniche, why in the hell does it get from here to here? And if that's not perception, I'll eat it. They all have rubber tires, they all got a steering wheel, they all got seats to sit in, and this one will take you from here to here. And yet we go, oh, but geez, the ride right here. I went past the guy last week. I'd just gotten home and got off the airplane, and this guy's driving in his Rolls, and I just went, oh, shoot. It's almost as good as my new Mercedes, but he's actually driving it. So literally, we got to fix your habits and look at what's going on with this price per inch, price per gallon, price per head, price per letter, price per house, price per car. It's important, and when I read stuff like this, I go, I got to show you this. It's important that your artwork prices always go up. So start low with the intention of allowing prices to rise. Professional galleries will normally ask for 50%. This will raise the price of you're paying $480, but do not sell for less. Once the price has been set by the gallery, raise your prices and then sell direct, because your gallery will want their cut. This is the kind of crap that is posted, is taught, is brought out, but guess who this is selling you this concept? The galleries, okay? And if you don't look at thinking this through and understanding how it works, and get from how to do it well, from hell if I know, get to a point where you start to realize it's you that's going to control this. If you add up the cost of all your materials, add in the number of hours you've worked on, and come up with a determination what the time is, or some reasonable number, then add a percentage of the cost to your studio, electric, water, etc. was used during the make the product, then double this number and add in 10%. That's the only place you can start when you've never done it before. Perception is not yet working for you. Time and materials should equal the retail price, but you've got to shove it. You got to push it harder. I mix with a lot of artists, and a lot of them kind of know who I am now, and this is all baloney. This kind of price per square inch stuff drives me clear crazy. And then to go in and comparison check, you got to see, well, is mine made as good as somebody else's, and therefore mine's this price. If you make your decisions based on emotional pricing, or when you inflate the piece over otherwise similar one, you're killing the relationship in the marketplace. This is all fact or fiction. This is not real. This is stuff that messes up most artists' position in the economy. And they just struggle with it. And I just sit, I go, my hell, if you don't do it any different, you'll never have any other results. How can you not know that something's wrong? No matter what, a totally new direction. Cover it with new grounds. Erica's my favorite story, my favorite subject, and I bring her up, and I bring her up, and I bring her up. She's in Veranda magazine every month, and her price has gone from $100 now to $170. $170 plus shipping and handling, and all she does is engrave this sentence on a bowl. This is the first project that June did while she was here with me. You know how long it takes to etch that on a crystal bowl with a high-speed handpiece for $180? And that ad costs $5,000 a month to be there. This simple, little, ordinary ad. I mean, this should tell you that it's within range of every person. You just got to be more careful with what you're doing and put some thought to it. I was there when Howard Turpinning first took his chance to really shove his prices over $100 a piece at the Cowboy Art Show. And every artist in the show was having a fit. They were so upset with Howard because he was just shoving it too hard. Except now he gets $1 million a piece. And what they did with the Cowboy Art group of people is what I'm hoping we eventually will do with the I&E. That you'll each grow every year. We'll all do better as we take it on and we get further and further and further into it. And we got 39 years of this going now. Next year is my 40th year. And I'm going to stay on it and stay on it and stay on it until I'm not here anymore. And if you can see that this unique supplier list and relationships, we went to Cabela's today. We stopped by Cabela's and I thought, why don't we have a carver and engraver in every Cabela's store? What in the world is, if Kenny Brown has done it with retailing of wine, isn't there something that we could help promote and sell in Cabela's? When you find stuff like this and see graphics like that, and you say, do you know how fun that would be to carve and engrave? God, on a piece of metal or a piece of wood, this would just absolutely explode. So when you find it and we share with each other, all of a sudden this becomes an asset. This is something that you might not find on your own. When you take this concept here and you say, you know what, I'm going to get really good at that. That would be unbelievable on an eggshell. Done on 3 surfaces, 3 corners of an ostrich egg or a rhea. I've hung up the master's course in front of everybody for a long time. And I've frustrated some people. I've upset some people over the years because I wouldn't move forward with finally becoming a master in the I&E. But what I'm after is a success level of the quality and the business. It's both. I need decent numbers out of you selling your work, because this is the group that are going to lead the future of the I&E. This is the group that are going to be successful at what they do. So if you're one of our masters already, thank you for your effort, your persistence, and your contribution now. But I'm still trying to grow it. I still would like to hang out in front of people the test that says, you know what, I think this is something I can actually do. So you might be a Indiana hone. Robert was so excited in his class when he came and took his class with me. He had a wreck on his motorcycle on Tuesday, the day after, and he still got here. Pushed his bike into the median and hopped a ride and came to class anyway. He was a really talented graphic artist, did a lot of work in Vietnam. And I don't care whether it's custom knives or custom doors or custom furniture or custom high-end eggshells, anything. Just let's get really good at what we do and then pay attention to our pricing. Okay? Now what I've tried to do in this first show, Craig got $70,000 for this fireplace mantle, hand-carved walnut. And Craig's now really accomplished at his pricing. Very seldom does he go too low. But you have to learn how to sell something in that individual range. And it's in a home in San Diego. He got a $2,500 tip when he installed it. So as long as I know you're not throwing yourself and your work away, giving it away, then I'll leave you largely alone, other than the occasional discussion we have between what should this cost. Because when we're talking about it with each other, we usually can help each other get a better price and make that work than what we probably were thinking of. So that mixture of those of us that are doing this, to me, is still the most valuable thing that we're all working with. I don't know how you do it entirely on your own. To me, it just does not make any sense. I've spent tonight trying to stretch your thinking. Next week, I'm going to go through and try and put some meat on it. Try and put you in a position where you can literally figure out how to make this work for yourself better. And there's not a person listening to the show that shouldn't be able to say, well, I think what I got to do is do a better job of it. Because I lined up today now with this new effort with the university, and I did okay during the last effort with BYU. But I guarantee you, we're going to make some more money on this effort this time. I even went back to them when BYU did so well with it. I said, you know what, you guys really made a lot of money here. I think I need to bill you for more. But after the fact, it's really difficult to raise the price. That just doesn't seem to work. Any questions from anybody?
I have some comments, Lou.
Go, Ron.
I'm going to go back to the beginning of your show. I hear an echo. I don't know if it's for you. You have a tab open.
Boy, I don't know. I don't see anything. Let me look here.
It sounds like it. Okay, I don't hear it now. Okay, I'm going to go back to the beginning where you talked about would you like to sell 3,000 pieces for $1 or one piece for 3,000. And obviously we all want to sell one piece for 3,000. But if your work looks like it's $1, that's all you're going to get for it. But I don't know anybody that has worked with the Power Pen even a short period of time that cannot take a $2 piece of glassware, personalize it, put a name or a piece of artwork on it that's very simple, and sell it for $25. Now let's take 4 pieces of glassware, and those 4 pieces, and let's say it takes you 15 minutes to do one glass. So that's 4 glasses that you did in an hour that you sold for $100. You might have total of $10 of supplies in it. So that gives you $90 an hour for your time. And the more you do, you're going to get to a point where you're going to be quicker, and it's not going to take you 15 minutes to do that piece of glass. So that's what you got to look at it. How big is the box your head is in? Is it in a box the size of $10? Well, if that's the case, then you're going to be at the local firehouse at Christmas time selling stuff for $5 and $10 a piece. If your box is in that $500 box, then you're going to be like Mel, who's at the juried shows and winning in the veterans art shows. You're going to be in that box where your price of your work is up there, where you're going to get $400 and $500 for it. And it's not unreasonable. I think anybody who's, and any one of the masters here, and I think we all look at it, we base our work on, we want to get $100 an hour at the end of the day when we're done with our work. And I think we've been taught that by you. I've been taught that by Ken Brown. And, you know, that's the way you got to look at it. Put your head in that bigger box with the higher price on it, because it's there for everybody.
Absolutely. Oh, I love it. I just, it is a change right here.
I like thinking outside the box.
Wait, Mel, I'll hold your coffee for you.
Towards the upside.
Well, but don't we all struggle with it? I mean, it just almost never ends. It's pricing is a constant dilemma of what should I charge, what's it worth, how can I make it work, can this come together? And when I'm going after these bigger projects now, you just have to give it a lot of room that's saying, well, maybe it'll work and maybe it won't. But I keep trying to make it work. I keep trying to lay those cards down a little better and a little better and a little better every time, and think about it before you go into it, of saying, well, if I present it a little better, won't it react better? Won't it work better in the marketplace? You know, and if you just keep thinking from a producer, I'm not consuming this. Don't let your brain shift back into the consumer thinking category. This does not work well. I think most of you are doing better. I think as a whole, as a network, we're just getting a little bit further and a little bit further and a little bit further, coming up and up and up and up and up with the marketing and with the presentation and with the prices. And eventually, this handmade world is going to get really, really, really exotic. And I need somebody to start making custom pens that we can promote. That's the one area that just drives me clear crazy. I'd do it, but I'm so damn old now I don't have the time to drive that up. But if there's pens out there, and no one uses a pen anymore. I mean, all they do is sign these gazillion-dollar contracts. That's what they pay for it. This damn pen cost $80,000, but it closed a $10, $20, $30, $100 million deal. That's where they sell. Now, if you don't think that's not going to continue to sell, and I don't see how anything else can compete with handmade, I do not. Handmade is still going to be the most exotic item in the marketplace.
Hey, Lou.
Yeah.
Everybody, with the advent of the internet, everybody has to stop thinking, well, I live way out in the middle of nowhere. Where am I going to find my customers? With the internet, your customers are as close as your fingertips. I live in North Carolina. One of my last customers was from Alabama. Never met the man. He sent me an email and requested a bracelet to be made with certain designs on it. I contacted him via email and said, okay, we need to modify your ideas a little bit because of size constraints. And all the negotiation and collaborating was done via email, including after I had done up the basic artwork, sent him, line drawings of it, and he said, okay, that's cool, let's do it. It was all done. I gave him my price and the address to send the check to. He sent it. I cashed it. I mailed him the bracelet, and he's a happy camper. It can all.
The odds that he'll order again from you? I mean, honest to God.
Oh, yeah.
More likely that than not.
Sure. But the whole world is at your feet with the internet. You're not just hemmed into your own local neighborhood anymore. The people in this bottom row, I'm from North Carolina. We've got 3 people in Florida, 1 in Utah, 1 in Pennsylvania, 1 in Arizona, and 1 up in Minnesota. I mean, we're scattered, but we're all here. So it's time to think outside the box.
I know you guys all come and participate. You have for this last 10 years. Every one of you have stayed with it and sat down. And I hope that it's been worthwhile for you to see how our thinking gradually shifts from this consumer crazy stuff to being a producer. You learn to make something, and then you begin to learn how to market it, and you get a little more savvy and a little more savvy. The real thing that I'm watching for is a breakthrough for each of you. Something that, like what happened with Ken Brown, I've not wrestled with anybody more than Ken. When he first started, he could not see what we were doing here. The potential of it just was because all he knew how to do was calligraphy on paper with a broad pen. And I would try and get him to see what was going on here. And we were having a president's session in Dallas, and he was there, and a girl named Kateri Ewing was in the class, and we just talked about this whole perception of value thing, because based on what the item is that you're engraving, it can either be really expensive or it cannot be so. And the manager of the hotel stuck his head in the door, and he says, I just noticed what all you guys can do. He says, I've got a $190 bottle of wine I'm giving to some friends of mine for a wedding coming up. Can anybody here engrave it? And Kateri just shot up. She says, oh, yes, I can do that. This really, everybody in the room could have done it. And he says, so what would it cost? And she says, well, I think it can be done about $100. Because he'd already told her the perception of the value of the piece. And we talked about this midway mark. There's a number that most people will deal with just below half the value of the item. She actually overpriced a little, but he didn't even object to that. He paid $190 for the wine, $100 to engrave it, didn't even blink. Ron, how long would it take you to write a little one-sentence thank you on a bottle of wine?
2 minutes. 2 minutes at the most.
How much an hour is that? I mean, that's what we're dealing with here. It's perception, and it's just okay. And as soon as Ken found that, as soon as he began to realize, okay, the perception of calligraphy on paper is one thing. The perception of calligraphy on crystal and wine and valuable things, knives, it's a whole nother deal. It's just a completely different customer, completely different price range, and completely different potential. And that's what you're playing with. It's the coolest thing in the world. Now, I wanted to end tonight with one little more submission. I've been asked to do an overview of how everything started with the drill for this international group. And the young lady that's the head of it is from South Korea, is a master egg artist in South Korea, and she's they always have thought that someone else started the high-speed drill. And I'm not going to pick on him right now, but I'm going to pick on him in a little bit of a while here, because he's just kind of stepped up on that stage and kept telling everybody, no, I did it all. Not about to let that lie. But I've really worked hard this week. When I was on my trip, I worked on it. I worked on it the last 3 days. I'm going to really hit it hard to get it right, get it all laid out with pictures and proof. I got enough that I can lay it down that in 1977 is the day I came up with the idea of cutting an eggshell with a drill. 1979 and 80s when I built the first high-speed handpiece. Took clear to 1983 to start the company. It's taken us 39 years to do what we've done so far, and next year is 40 years. Now, I would like out of you what has happened in your circumstance to put into my book, because I'm going to publish an electronic book next year for this 40th anniversary. So I want your eccentric stories. I want the funny things that happen to you, the terrible things that happen. I mean, we got such unbelievable, crazy things that we've all gone through to try and make an enterprise. And I see all this fun stuff, especially on Google Plus, of promoting entrepreneurship and hobbypreneurship, and I think it's so much harder than what people promote, because it's just, if it were frickin' easy, everybody and their dog would have their own enterprise. But only 3 out of 100 have an ongoing successful enterprise. 9 of us have to be stuck on a paycheck. Yeah, Ed?
Yeah, don't forget your first mag was back in 1981 magazines, and they're the one your high-speed drill.
We lost part of what you were saying, Ed. I didn't hear it, so I don't know what you were reading.
I said, don't forget the first magazine article was done on you back in 1981 or 82 in that family magazine, because I saw that when I was overseas in the Army.
It's actually, it was 1984, the year after I started the company. I've got it. Yeah, it was Nancy Fitzpatrick, and it was American Craft Decorator magazine. But then I got juried into the American Craft Council before that. So that was kind of my first big thing, was to be in the top 700 artists in the United States, and that was kind of cool. But even in those days, I didn't understand what was going to happen here. And when I've not been playing on Facebook at all, and then I started this year, and I'm over there, and that's where this whole International Egg thing is. And I am just dumbfounded at the beauty of the work. And Lord, there's just some gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous things going on, and it's just rolled on out. But that's true for you, every one of us. It's not just my story. It started as mine, but it's our story. And individuals that you reach out and that you touch, you never know when what you say or do or post is going to inspire another person.
Who's the dark-headed guy in the photo?
What?
Who's the dark-headed guy in this photo?
Oh, yeah. Our 93 catalog. That's famous now, Mel. I'm pleased you got that still, man. Hang on to that.
Yeah, that's the first one I got.
Yep. That was 10 years. That was our 10-year anniversary catalog. So when you look at what you're doing and then say, I was trying to tell these people today, we're going to put Chris up in front of the raising of money for this new veterans program. And I told him, I says, I'll help with the social media stuff, because they're surprisingly uninformed about that. They don't do it at all. They don't use social media at all. And I'm going, when we can, those of us that have played over here more and realize how visible things are now, holy crap. If something gets going on that in those social medias and turns viral, you couldn't pay for that kind of exposure.
No, so they're still using carrier pigeons.
Yeah, carrier pigeons is right. And I'm going, why don't you just continue to do? But make a promise to yourself you're going to do a little more this week, a little more next week, a little more the week after that. It's got that's the old Paramount, the newsletter. I was telling them today. In fact, I use the same example. And we used to have a staff of 5 people who produced that newsletter and did that video of the month. And I'd pay the salaries of those 5 people. Then the mailing of the newsletter was about 10 grand a month, all by itself. And I think we do a better job now of mixing with just this stupid little device. And they're getting, they've released all the new Note 6 stuff now, and I just gotta have it. I'm a pigeon for technology, man. Do I love it? And when you begin to see what's going on, yep, there's my old. Oh, Apple, no, we can't show that. That's that's illegal. Apple won't ever sponsor me, so I gotta stick with Samsung completely. But our connection here, it's just making it better. And all this stuff is getting a little better and a little better and a little better all the time. And so please jump in and help me with anything you can think of for this book next year. I'm excited about it. I think it's going to be really worthwhile to look at what has 40 years done, pick up a thread of interest, and never let go. That's all I've done. That's all Ken's done. That's all Ron's done. That's all Mel's done. That's what Nick's done. Every one of us have just moved what we preferred playing with in a direction of uniqueness. That's the whole secret. And pricing and branding and marketing, these are big subjects for a small business selling something that we need or want, not a need, okay? All right, guys, thank you for your time. Yeah, one more.
I got one thing to say before we go. You held up your phone there. I went to the local thrift store, and I got a whole bunch of Samsung old phones. I use them as door stops around the house now.
You should not say that. That's sacrilegious. A bunch of Samsung phones for door stuff.
You gonna use them for sinkers when you go fishing?
I could show you the Apple phone that I shot with the 357, and there is not much left of it. I guarantee you, my brother.
Licking and still ticking, huh?
We plugged that damn thing, and boy, did we put it in Neverland with one bullet hole. It just, and you know, they go through the front pretty clean, but boy, do they raise hell going out the back. I'll have to show you. It's rather amazing what a gun will do to an Apple phone.
Can any of you tell me why?
We'll have Coke Wars and the Pepsi Wars and the Apple and the Samsung Wars forever. What, Johnny?
I cannot see anything that you were showing on the screen whatsoever. The whole night I could hear you and talk to you, but nothing that you showed on the screen have I seen. Now, why?
Anybody else have that trouble?
No,
not,
it was
but
fine.
almost-
It's Joni's computer, I think.
No, it's John's
Computer or
computer.
bandwidth?
What is it, Nick?
I'm thinking bandwidth, that her connection is lacking. Because when her picture comes up, when she's talking, all that we see is the actual picture.
See, I've heard that Disney sucks up all the electronic computer bandwidth in Florida. Nothing left for people down there, okay? All Disney gets it all, right?
Well,
Do you understand what he's talking about, Joni?
M-I-C-K-E-Y.
I don't know. I don't know what that bandwidth is.
M-O-G-O-C.
It's also possible your bandwidth was set all the way to the left, the lowest, at which point that's all you'd be able to do is hear.
Oh,
Sometimes you're fine and sometimes you're not, Joni, and I don't know the difference. It may be that sometimes functioning like it should and then other times it's not.
yeah.
The best you could do, Joni, would be go get to your provider and make them come and tell you how things are working.
Yeah.
Your computer can't do the job unless that bandwidth is working. If it's slow getting into you, you're not likely to. And so if you're getting the audio, that's pretty simple to get through, but the video is what slows things down. So I would call your provider.
I get the audio real well, and your picture is in the middle, a photo of you, and it goes in and out.
But you're not getting live. See, and we're all live, but you're not. That's got to be your provider. If what's coming into your house is not enough.
Okay, I'll check.
Right now, hover your mouse over the icons at the top of your screen, the camera, the microphone,
Next thing, very top. Move your mouse right
towards the
top,
center.
right up in the
Oh,
middle.
yeah, I've checked all them.
Okay.
All
Tell me how many highlighted bars are in the center one. There's 4 bars.
Okay, the very first, very minute, the smallest one.
Yeah.
Okay. Then right now your bandwidth is set low. Click on it. Click on that icon.
Open it up. Yeah.
Okay.
Open it up.
Take the slider bar and slide it to the right 1.
Okay. Whoops. Now I've got you.
There
Okay.
you are.
Yeah.
You had it set low because you had issues on one of our previous.
Yeah, I know
Yeah.
it. But what is happening now, I can see you, but everything is flashing on and off.
Then
You
you
know,
still may have an issue with the.
Yeah.
We can see your video, so.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's good enough. At least I know. So now I'll check with the Bright House.
Johnny, how old is your computer?
It's not that old. I say it's not that old. Maybe 5 years at the most.
That's a part of it.
You
Yeah,
may
but
have
that's still 5
may have
years
a-
recently isn't too bad.
You may have a weak processor. your processor may not be fast enough to upload the video portion of it. Your bandwidth is fluctuating, but your microprocessor is not fast enough to be able to see the film strip that he's showing.
Yeah, I don't know why it's now. I've never had this problem before, not being able to see what you folks are doing. But now I realize what it was. But that little icon up on the top, I couldn't. I didn't try that before.
Okay.
I
As-
bandwidth.
Talk
As
to your
Google
provider.
and these outfits make changes to their software and what they're putting out, it requires more bandwidth sometimes.
Oh well, that makes sense. Yeah.
I want all of you tonight, when we finish here, put your own name in Google search and then pull up images.
And
Put your name, search it, and then pull up images and see how much comes up about you. Because that's an indication of how you're doing. If you're getting more and more and more visibility, then you're moving social media in your direction. And I'm doing everything I can think of to fan that fire and one day have just some tremendous impact from those of us that are promoting each other. It doesn't make any sense for you to look through Google Plus and not plus one and reshare everything. We ought, every time you're on and you see something from somebody else in our circle, I nudge Jason's work up in Maine every time, because he's not playing with us a hell of a lot, but he should be. He really ought to be. He's doing great work, and his marketing's kind of soft, but I try and nudge that along because I think it's good for all of us that produce handmade things. And boy, there's just such beautiful stuff showing up more and more and more on both those social media sites. So, all right, thank you,
Every
Mike.
time I check, Ron's wanted poster comes up.
Yeah, Ron's a little bit. He's the question mark and the whole thing. I'm
Hey,
not.
Mel.
Go ahead.
Did you get a letter from me?
Yeah, I sure did. Thank you.
Okay. Just wanted to check.
Yeah,
I sent you an
over
email.
there.
I sent an email to you, but I didn't receive an email. But I didn't receive a reply. So.
Sorry about that.
You'll get it. You'll get it. I think you'll get it now, Deb. Okay?
I will.
Oh, she'll get it all right.
Yes. Mel's not the one you. Absolutely. Thank you guys for everything. Appreciate your persistence and your patience and your contribution. It is just without a doubt one of the funnest things in this whole thing that we play
There you
with
go.
is each other. So
Hillbilly Christmas ornament.
okay. Close enough. Close enough. Good night, everybody.